Hi everyone. Today I'm here with Brandon Loschiavo, a diver and a two-time Olympian, as well as a seven-time national champion, and now an assistant diving coach at the University of Missouri. Hi Brandon, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. Very excited. It's a great intro. So, yeah, excited to be here.
Yes, I'm very excited to talk to you. So before we dive into your Olympic experience, I want to discuss what really piqued your interest in sports growing up.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I started very early. Our family is very active. And so I think a big piece there was actually trying to lower this ADD mind and just get me somewhere that's actually like conducive for me. And so it's the best way to keep me in the right path. So I was sent to gymnastics. And just ran that out for 9 years before I ended up switching to diving. So I think I chose, I mean, I was put into sports. It wasn't really a choice, but the choice was to stay when I was given that choice. And so it just pushed me in a good direction. And it's the only way I could get out of this mind was just to physically do something.
Yeah, and how did you first get introduced to diving?
Diving was a summer camp. I did gymnastics at Scats Gymnastics, where Sam McCulick, that's a big name in gymnastics, he was an athlete there, and there was kind of a big gymnastics culture there. And so I found a flyer. Gymnastics was kind of beating me to hell, and so I thought, why not try this other sport that is quite acrobatic for fun? And then I tried it. Didn't know how to wear a Speedo, but tried it, had a lot of fun. And then from there, I couldn't stop. So there was like a transition period of a year trying to go back and forth. Which one do I actually want to do? And then eventually I just decided to fully dive in to
Yeah,
diving.
very cool. So, who were your biggest inspirations or role models when you were younger, both in sports and in life?
Yeah, I always looked up. Um, don't hack my phone, but for my passcode, it's always 2012. I'll probably have to change that now I'm saying that. But I was always obsessed with. It wasn't necessarily a specific person, but I remember looking up and seeing the finalist in 2012 for the Olympics, and just that being able to like walk into that group and try to be one of those people. It made me super obsessed, but it wasn't the specific person, it was who I could be. So when I was a little kid, for diving, you have a diving list of specific dives. For men, it's six. And so I wrote out my six dive list. And so over the years, I got to check off each one. And eventually, I got that list that I wrote down. And so the exciting part there was I was kind of looking towards who I could be in the future. And so that was something I always tried to constantly strive towards. And I kind of like obsessed over it. But yeah, it was the Olympic finalist in 2012. And then, creating myself into one of those people.
Yeah. And I think it's like goal setting. When you write down your goals on a piece of paper, it just, for some reason, it makes it feel more real.
Yeah, especially if you can make it palatable and smaller. Because a big goal like making it to the Olympics, getting a master's degree, or a lot of these little things that we all run into, it's like if you look at the big thing within itself, it's terrifying, and some people just don't end up starting.
Yeah.
But the best way to actually get to those goals, can we focus on the first step?
Yeah.
What's the first step? What can I do? And just show up. And that's honestly something people actually struggle with. It is very simple. Just show up every day and it'll get you farther than you think.
Yeah. So when did you realize that diving was something you wanted to pursue seriously, even at the Olympic level?
Um, Probably instantaneously. You'll probably find this out quickly, but I get hyper obsessive very quickly. And so right as I even stepped into the pool and I made that distinction between, hey, I was a gymnast and I am now a diver, it was probably instantaneously from that point on that I was, hey, the goal is to make it to the Olympics. The goal was to jump off 10-meter first, though, which took me 2 years. Most people say it looks terrifying, and how can you just walk up there? It wasn't
Yeah.
just a me walking up there. It was funny enough me focusing on the first step, which was just jumping off. So yeah, I decided pretty quickly. I think that that is in my nature is to what is the farthest point that we could take this thing? Okay, that's where I want to go. So yeah, pretty instantaneously, I'll say.
Yeah. And so how did the college recruiting process work for you as a diver?
Yeah, it's changed since, at least a little bit, but it took me a long time to be good. I'm going to take this in a roundabout way. It took me a long time to be even recognized, right? So that's the big piece in college recruiting is to be able to be recruitable. And so I was not recruitable for quite a long time. It took me a long time to develop into the athlete that I was at that time. And so right before recruiting actually began is when things finally clicked for me, right? So I just was focusing on the few things that I could focus on at that time being. And then it was the end of my junior year that I was able to have everything click for me. And so our nationals are not the easiest thing. And I was kind of an unknown diver. I was known for maybe getting around last at finals in junior nationals and stuff like that. And so I ended up getting second at senior nationals. I won the prelim, I won the semi, and this is beating the best diver in the country at the time.
Wow.
And then I got second, young kid, wanted the thing and overthought about the thing and kind of lost it, but instantaneously was like on the market. Whoa, who's that? And so at that meet, I had college coaches coming up to me saying, "Hi, how are you?" Introducing themselves. And so I think the important piece to recruiting for most athletes in my mind is actually, again, what small steps can we focus on to work us towards being recruitable in the first place? Because if you're not recruitable, you could be the most intelligent person. The college coach might not care about you that much. So, yeah, recruiting for me was trying to be the best athlete. I wasn't academically the most impressive person. I didn't get bad grades, but I wasn't taking any honors classes. Academics for me took a long time, just like diving. It took me a long time to be able to read a book, be able to sit down and do that. Athletics helped with that by getting this to calm down.
Hmm.
But yeah, so it took me a long time. And that recruiting process is far more complicated in today's age, but I'll save you the headache of listening to that.
Yeah, so diving requires incredible mental focus. How did you manage the mental pressure during, huge competitions?
So if we were going to start back then, ignorance is bliss. You don't know you're a head case until you actually admit that you are one. So for the longest time, I had no idea I was a head case in the first place. Especially if you put someone on 10 meters, which is 33 feet for people that don't know, you don't, you, once you figure out that this is really scary and that you are afraid because you're not doing the things that you need to do, executing certain corrections or cues that you're given by your coach, then you recognize, oh, I think I'm really scared right now. And so being able to one, just say that I'm afraid is the first step in that aspect. And then you can go from there. So to work on the mind and to build out in that way, it takes a really long time. The things that I try to do for athletes now is give them a book to read because reading is the best way to see someone else's story and then to intake that and then digest it. What did they do? How do I do it? And then where can I find that disconnect to be more like them? So those were the things that eventually pushed me to become a better competitor. Again, something I tell a lot of athletes is especially the ones younger than me, the ones that I can see that are coming up that almost have it, but they just don't recognize that it's 99% of your sport is in between your ears. Most of them are 10 times more talented than I am. The thing that I have that they don't at that current time was consistency. You need to be able to calm down if you miss a dive, right? So diving is there's 6 dives and you do one dive at a time. You don't do all six in one go. so to speak. So it's kind of like a mini marathon. You do one dive, you take a break, you come back and do the second dive. So if you think about it, you could break it down into a one dive competition 6 times.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? And so you can do this with any sport. Is just to look at the big thing, and then how can we again take it into bite-sized pieces. And so that's essentially all I did. If I missed one dive, okay, well, I have 5 more competitions to go. Move on, let it go. You can't change the past. Come back down, and then readdress. So I think the competing is, some people are really good at competing. Some people are really good at training. If you could actually merge the two, you become the best athlete that you can, because a lot of people don't recognize, but if you don't know how to train, it makes it a hell of a lot harder to become a good competitor, because you just can't get to those levels without being able to like analyze and grow within a training confined. So there's a lot of pieces to it. Hopefully I answered that question
Yeah,
somewhat, but
definitely.
it's a complicated bit, but it's very, again, if you just show up and start to work on the pieces, if you can be intentional, and it's obviously a very broad statement to make, but if you can be intentional about the pieces that you do, I think it can take you a lot farther, especially the first step, show up. The second step, once you've consistently showed up, is now to be intentional with what you do while you're there.
Right.
So hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like, I don't know, I'm scared of heights. So like how do you overcome those like mental blocks and fears like right before the dive?
Yeah. The funny part is most of those Olympians, I'll speak for myself, I'm usually terrified the whole time. So it's never like necessarily, and this is something verbiage I had to fix for myself, was conquer the fear. I had to conquer the fear. I had to beat the fear. And that's usually not what we do with human nature. Is what you do is you accept it in, and then understand how to work with it. So it's not necessarily like a conquer, I beat it, it's gone forever, because it's always going to come back up. So if I just
Yeah.
increased one little piece, one little function of that 10 meter, right? Um, Indoor 10 meter, great. Outdoor 10 meter. Now you have a lot of different variables going on. The fear's back. So there's always things that can change that can bring that fear back. It's learning how to manage and actually accept those feelings, and then bring the heart rate back down.
Yeah.
So it's a hard skill to do, but again, the first piece is just recognizing that you are afraid before you go and do those things. So for me, if I'm going to give you more of a tangible thing to come away with, I would journal after practice. A lot of people like to do before and goals. I actually think that's kind of pointless. And I actually think it could go against the grain of you becoming better. Go in with an open mind. If you have a set goal, then there's an expectation that you're trying to do. Well,
Right.
sometimes we need to take away the expectation, go in with an open mind, and just learn whatever we can. So I would always analyze after a training session. Let me write, I call it intentional, or I call it, there's a couple different words, but journaling sounds fluffy. This isn't that fluffy. I'm not writing, today I felt great and my hair was flying in the wind. It's more, I think what I usually tell people, because it sounds a little bit more athletic, is tactical journaling. It's a tactical journal. I
Yeah.
write out the things that I did. So if I was going to do a 10-meter dive, I have 6 of them. I did, my first 10-meter dive. I felt really afraid when I was getting my arms through right here. Here's the 2 things I need to focus on. Done. So what you end up doing is, instead of just, here's my example. Steph Curry, usually I think the amount of hoops they said he shot per day was like 500. There's a difference between shooting 500 shots and as you release, you close your eyes. You're not going to learn too much. Are you even making it in the basket? Are you
Yeah.
hitting the rim and breaking it? There's so many things. Did you follow through? Well, if you close your eyes, it's like you can potentially feel it, but what did you analyze from that? Versus if he shot, followed through, was actually getting it through. Okay, well, now if his eyes are open, he can analyze those pieces of what he's done. So in my mind, it's probably not the best example, but it's what we have right now. That's essentially what a lot of athletes are doing. So if you go and practice and then just leave, that whole training session, if it was good or bad, kind of goes in the wayside. Well, what did you learn from it? Write it down. That's the best way to remember things. And if, X, Y, and Z happens, then you can actually flip back. Oh, well, January 2nd, that actually worked 2023. Well, let me try that again because I've missed these pieces. And so there's so many factors to that. So being able to actually analyze my mind at certain pieces was super important. And again, the more I write it down, the more you feel like you're committing to said thing. And so for me, beating that fear was utilizing journaling. And then, if you can utilize a sports psych, that's even more fuel in the flame. So I think those would be like the two things I would tell people.
Yeah, I really like that strategy. So, talking about the Olympics now, you competed in the Tokyo Olympics, which was your first ever Olympics. How did you feel? And, what was the Olympic experience like generally?
Yeah, I mean, so the the Tokyo Olympics was 2021, right? So it's already not really being the actual Olympic experience for the athletes that were there. We had COVID beforehand that was kind of exploding, and then during, everyone was very touchy and scared. So you had no fans, which completely changes the atmosphere of a competition, right? So it's like you're competing, but there's no one in the stands, so it's like dead silent. And I don't know if you've seen the Tokyo pool, but it's essentially the same size as a football field, not court. My goodness. Um, so it's the same size as a football field, but you have a diving well and then a swim well. And
Hmm.
so you're going to hear an echo all the way down because it's that empty. I think it
Wow.
was supposed to house somewhere around like 17,000 people, and there was probably 30 in the stands because, you have your support staff that are allowed to be there.
Yeah.
So you were taken away from the experience, but again, you're at the Olympics. It's not always about the fans and the atmosphere that it could provide. It's about the competition that you've been given. So don't fear the storm, right? Learn to dance in the rain. It's what
Yeah.
you had, right? So it's like that's the scenarios that we had. Again, my whole athletic career has just been riddled by injuries. So, of course, the morning of the day before the competition, I have really bad patellar tendonitis. I did at least. Felt a nice pop in my knee and I couldn't bend my leg. And so that started my journey through the competition, was having to deal with a really bad injury. And I was still able to make it into the final. I didn't compete how I wanted in the final, but again, some of the best lessons are through hard times, not easy times. And
Yeah.
so I was able to learn a lot about myself and, how do you act during hard times? How can you push your body to its limit when it feels like it actually has?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the first Olympics that I went to, 2021, was it was super fun, right? You're at the Olympics. This is super exciting. I get to do something new, and you have the flashy title behind you. But there was a lot of lessons being learned, especially within that competition. And then, I had that extra um that little twist of no one there. So, depending on how you took it, you get to digest whatever that feels like for you. Some people are super depressed about it. Some people tried to overcompensate. This is, the best experience. And you're like, all right, maybe, but maybe not. So it was a great learning experience for me. And again, I think you have a lot of the Olympic dip, that depression happens when you hold this one thing way too high. And
Yeah.
so if you don't get it, you're really depressed. If you do get it and then you leave it, right? Like all of your um, aspirations, goals, they're gone now. So what's
Yeah.
next, right? So it's like if you hold this one thing at the highest piece, you're going to be really depressed once it's behind you. And so that's the feeling that you have to deal with is, oh, what's next? Who
Mhm.
am I? I'm an Olympian. What does that mean? Right. And so
Yeah.
it's a athletic pursuit, but it's not who you are. It's something you have done, but it's not, you as in your full being. And so I had to learn that the hard way, which was after Tokyo 21. Um, and then obviously it was a different experience after Paris, but I'll let you kind of take that where you
Yeah.
want. But yeah, so that was kind of like in a a long extended version of my Tokyo experience.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about the Paris Olympics. I know during the most recent Olympic trials, you finished second, but you weren't confirmed a spot on the US team. But I know
Yep.
one day before the diving at the Paris Olympics began, you were given the spot in the men's 10-meter platform competition. Like, how were you processing all of this?
Yeah, so I was actually given the spot. It was close to like 2 weeks in a day or two. That's when I was confirmed the spot out of nowhere because I was already fully retired at that point. Usually we have two spots to make it to the Olympics. I got us the first spot in Doha for our World Championships. The other athlete got 19th. You need to be top 18 to be
Yeah.
at least somewhat confirmed. So the other athlete got 18th. But the problem was I got second, not first. So if I were to re-get the spot that I got for the country, I would have to win. I got second. So they're like, hey, you might go, but it's not confirmed. And
Yeah.
so usually there's a specific date to where people pull out. There's a myriad of different things you have to kind of analyze and go through, which I'm not going to talk about because it's a headache. But what it ended up being was all the other boards went down, platform went down 0 spots. And so again, my career's done. It was a great competition. Good luck to our team. And so I was out for close to a month. And then they called me up and said, hey, do you want to go? You don't have to, but you can go. And so, of course, I'm going. Like, we're going to go for it. But
Yeah.
if you usually take a month off, it usually takes double, if not a little bit more, to get back to diving,
Mm.
essentially. And so I had not even a fifth of that time. Like, I had 2 weeks to like really get ready. And then, of course, there was an injury within that 2 weeks, which took up most of those days. So I had about, I want to say like 4 sessions on 10 meter when you want what, like triple that, if not more than that. So again, dealing with a new injury because
Yeah.
I came back to 10 meters so fast, and then going through, but obviously roundabout way, I'll come back to the initial question was like, how do you feel when you got that?
Yeah.
Scared, right? Because I've been fully retired, sitting, not doing any diving training, which is like very hyper specific. And then obviously like very confused. I asked my coach, I was like, are you actually messing with me? Is this real? If this is a joke, I'm going to block your number. Like, this is absurd. And so it was kind of like amazed and confused and excited, but terrified because of the path that was going to be laid down in front of me of having to rush back to 10 meter, which is terrifying, scary. So it was like I was reworking through the growing pains of being completely afraid of redoing my dives that I haven't done in a long time. And yes, 3.5 weeks to a month is a solid amount of time not to do your dives and have to get back to them super fast. For people that don't understand diving, it's a very quick turnaround. So yeah, it was terrifying, but I was like, hey, I'm just gonna follow this whole journey with gratitude. Even
Yeah.
going into the competition, I wasn't supposed to be there. I'm not the same athlete because I took a whole month off in between trials and the Olympics.
Mhm.
So I knew even going into the competition, I would not even be half the athlete. And so just having that in my mind, I wouldn't have to deal with like the ups and downs of the emotions of like, woe is me, essentially. So
Yeah.
that was kind of the initial feeling.
Right. Okay, so Paris Olympics was really different from Tokyo Olympics. I want to talk about um, why having support from, family, friends, and fans is so crucial.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so Tokyo, there was no one there. So I'm struggling. Thankfully, I had my support staff there, but it is different having kind of your family there physically in person. A video of them cheering, it's nice, but it's disconnected. It's not, you see a lot of videos of friends on Instagram. Like, you don't feel like you're there on the beach with them, right? So
Yeah.
there's a pretty solid amount of disconnect. And so being able to have my girlfriend there and have my parents, cousins, like people that would go out of their way to come all the way to this competition, gives you a little bit of extra oomph behind you, especially when you don't want to be doing the thing. So when you wake up and your whole body hurts and you have to compete again and you're scared, knowing that, hey, I kind of got to do this for more than just me feels different. In Tokyo, it's just me. Thankfully, it's like Tokyo was this is the first time I'm here. I need to get into the final so I can like fulfill that like childhood dream. And so that was the one thing that was kind of pushing me. If you were to ask me specifics about that competition, I genuinely kind of blacked out during the whole thing. Like even looking back at it, I struggle to because there's just so much fear, pain, and panic.
Yeah.
This competition obviously is a lot more recent, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to recall this a hell of a lot more easily because I was a lot more calm, even though I was still in a pretty bad position. So yeah, just to wrap back to the initial question, it's more again more fuel to the flame. It's easier to push when you don't feel like it. Specifically knowing that you've got family members in the crowd kind of like cheering, yelling for you.
Yeah. So what would you tell an aspiring athlete who has dreams of going to the Olympics?
Mm, I think just again, the most basic thing. It's a big goal. It's a lot of work, especially when you start to understand what actually goes into it. You got to take it one step at a time. If you take the whole picture and you look at the whole thing, you're going to stress out and crumble. So take it to the most minute thing. Can I show up today? Can I show up tomorrow? And then once you can do that consistently enough, then let's build from there. Everyone wants things now, which is kind of our consumer society. I
Mhm.
want things now. I want to order it now right off of Amazon. Again, that's me too. I'm speaking from real experience here. But when you look at an athletic pursuit, it's very similar to being strong in the weight room, for example, right? It's really similar to getting a PhD. You can't get that in one sitting. It will never happen, right? To build muscle, it takes a really long time and being very smart over time. So if you can take pieces and learn from the first step to the second step and then get more intelligent per step, you'll start to cut learning curves very quickly. And so your your journey could have taken 20 years. Well, if you're intentional at year 5, you might be able to cut off another 5 years by having a good mentor, or again, journaling and understanding what you're doing, getting a sports psychologist, listening to your coach. There's a lot of things that can actually happen. So, yeah, for someone looking towards a big pursuit like the Olympics, you got to slow down.
Mhm.
You got to slow down a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about your future goals. Do you plan to attend the 2028 Olympics in LA?
Uh, Potentially as a coach. There's, questions of me coming back for just synchro, but I trust the US. I'm excited for our younger divers coming up. It's time for me to step aside and see if I can help in any way. Again, the goal is to be mentored and then eventually mentor. So I feel like I'm in the position now to actually help our diving, USA diving specifically, to make sure we can move in the right direction. So maybe on the pool deck as a coach, which would be a cool dream to that's the next
Yeah,
dream is to be the coach there.
that's awesome. So how has your perspective on diving changed now that you're guiding and mentoring athletes?
It's like I just said, it's slower. Um I was in that I was in that seat of trying to get all of it now. And I hit a lot of roadblocks because of it. And so if I can kind of instill that knowledge to a lot of athletes is to slow down, take one piece at a time. Um, Again, if something's going bad for one practice and you start freaking out, this is for any sport, you're not learning if you're panicking.
Yeah.
So if you can slow down and see what you're doing and analyze the pieces, even if it's a bad practice, usually the bad practices are the ones that push us the farthest forward. So as a coach, the perspective is being a little bit slower. I might get excited and loud on on pool deck, but that's to raise the overall vibes
Yeah.
upwards. So yeah, it's actually to slow down and take the pieces as much as we can. And again, sports are fun, but it is a game. So we do have to remember that we are all humans, and these are all made up games from humans. So that again, at the end of the day, if you don't get your goal, that doesn't mean you're a bad person, you're useless. It's just a fun pursuit. Athletics is a way to learn about yourself and to connect with others. That's essentially literally all it is. So if you can kind of change that perspective in your mind, a really bad day is not that bad because you have the opportunity to even do the sport in the first place. So a lot of perspective changes, and yeah, the speed of how this goes of getting towards that goal is kind of slowed down.
Yeah. Okay, so as we're finishing off, I want to know, what is your mental playbook that keeps you going?
My mental playbook that keeps me going. I think is to always learn. If you stop learning as an athlete, you will stagnate. If you stop learning as a coach, you and your athletes will stagnate. So I think the biggest piece to a lot of all of these high performance institutions are usually led by some of the best learners. They don't stop. They keep learning. It doesn't have to be within your sport. Some of the best books that I've learned and learned from were philosophy books. So yeah, I think if you can learn, your mental game will move forward substantially faster than you probably would even expect. So read, read more, and
Yeah.
then once you feel like you've read too much, keep reading.
Nice. My last question for you, just a general question. I'm curious to know, what matters most to you, the destination, the journey, or the company?
Mm, mm. Oh, it's hard. I'd probably say the journey. The company will come along, the company will come and go.
Yeah.
So enjoying the people that are there, but being able to look backwards and hopefully learn a lot, and even to see the beauty within the highs and the lows, the peaks and the valleys, is always kind of an honor. That's life, right? Is
Yeah.
to experience love and enjoy the moments that are passing. So the journey, I'd go for the journey.
Cool. Well, thank you, Brandon, for joining me today on the Mental Playbook podcast. To my listeners, mind strong, game on.
Mm.